I'm really here. What's up, everyone? It is good to be back for Mock Draft Monday. It's been a while. It's been a minute. It's been a year. It's been a rough year for the Cardinals, but I think there's a lot of optimism, going into this offseason. I think we're all really excited about this draft season coming up. And we're going to get into all of that real quick. Let me say hey to some of the folks. Some of y'all were in the chat even before we get started. I just really appreciate that. Y'all are awesome. We got Drew McWhorter. What is up? So who's getting a theme song this year? Can't wait for some Mock Draft Monday, right? Yeah. We'll see if we get another John Michael Schmitz, right? Dan, thanks for being here. I don't know, but John Michael, he's not our center Schmidt. Should hire someone to carry boombox in front of him playing the song, right? Hank Hill, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Red Sea, we out here. Let's see. We got Robert Moore in here checking in, gents. Thanks for being here with us. Chris Young, it's finally here. Arthur, hello, Joe in chat. Thanks for being here, hanging out with us. Mark Jackson, good to see you. MDM is back. We are back. So we're going to get into it as always. I've got a player profile we're going to talk about. I've got a few other things, and we'll get into my mock draft. Then we'll get into the mock drafts were submitted. We got some other folks dropping into the chat. Brandon Probst, thanks for being here. Happy Mock Draft Monday. Appreciate you. AVB and Van Buren, thank you for being here, my good friend. We got Morsi Paez. Ole, Joe, thanks for being here. We got JP, looking good, Prof. Thank you. Likewise, good to see you, my friend. Appreciate you, longtime supporter of the channel. So thank you all for being here. Well, let's get right into it. And we're going to start with a player profile. Now, there's a player, he didn't end up in my mock draft. Usually, if you've been watching for a while, I try to highlight the player profile in my mock drafts, and he went one pick before I would have picked him. But I liked the mock draft that he did, so I went with it anyway. This is a player that has shown up in a lot of my mock drafts, and I think he's an interesting player for the Cardinals, potentially. I think he could fit some interesting roles for them. And I've got a comp from last year's draft that who he reminds me of a little bit in terms of his player profile. But the player I'm going to go with is safety Javon Bullard from Georgia. Now, he's listed as a safety, but he also plays slot. He's 21 years old. He's a junior. He's 5'11", 195. Kind of projected to be sort of a day 2 pick, somewhere in rounds 2 or 3, probably late round 2, maybe. Well, obviously we'll see how this plays out. But for me, he reminds me a little bit of Brian Branch, who went to the Lions last year, much earlier. Probably not quite the player Brian Branch is, but same type of player. Maybe an inch shorter than Branch. Another safety / slot corner sort of hybrid guy that can kind of play around, kind of line of scrimmage some. And I think, the Cardinals, we've got, when they play 3 shell, kind of 3 deep, they safety looks, they could potentially use a guy like Bullard in there with Buddha and Jalen Thompson, right? A guy who can play safety and that slot corner and be one of the 3 safeties there. So he's a guy I'm really intrigued by. I know Buddha, everyone loves Buddha, and there was a lot of questions about whether he'd be traded last year. Obviously, we're glad to keep him around, but you do have to build for the future. And, we don't know how much longer Buddha has. So getting a guy like Javon Bullard, a safety / slot corner, and building, he can play now in the slot, move Garrett Williams on the outside. He can sub in on safety some, and he could potentially be maybe a future starting safety if he doesn't stay in the slot. So I think he'd be a really intriguing pick for the Cardinals. Obviously, coming out of Georgia, a great program. I think he could be a really cool fit. So, when we look at his PFF grades, he's graded really well, last couple of years, and pretty well in 2021. His coverage grade is really solid. Run defense grade is decent. I mean, a lot of blue, right? You like seeing that blue, and you see, snaps by alignment. You see that he played mostly kind of last year. He played mostly deep safety, a little bit in the box, which like strong safety. A few snaps on outside corner. When you see D line for a guy like this, that's usually when they have him rushing like at an edge. But, 144 snaps in the slot last year. In 2022, though, he had 510 snaps in the slot. So kind of versatile in that way. So this is a guy I really like as a potential pick for the Cardinals, going into, day 2 of the draft somewhere. Let me say hey to some of the folks that have dropped in. We got Michael Richard. Thanks for being here. Hey, all. Good evening. Appreciate you. Jordan P, good to see you, my friend. It's that time. We've got Ben, the Cardinals fan. Love the content. Thank you. Appreciate the support. Appreciate you being here with us. Andrew James, really good dude. I like following on Twitter as well. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Just logged in. August KK, well, hello, welcome back. Thank you for being with us, hanging out with us. We got Eric Marshall. What is up, dude? A mainstay in the Discord server. If you are not, as champion of the TCR League, I'm glad to be here. That's very, very in keeping with you, Eric. But I love it. If you aren't part of our Discord server, there's a link in the description of this video. There's a great community of folks in there that just love talking Cardinals all the time, joking around. You know, they post mock drafts in there all the time. If you want to be part of just a really great group of a community of Cardinals fans who just, you know, drop in and chat throughout the day, join the Discord server. It's active every day. People are in there talking like throughout the day. It is a very active server. Great folks in there, including Eric, Red Sea, Robert Moore, a handful of other folks are in here right now. So definitely do it. And thank you, Red Sea. Yes, smash the like button. Make sure you join the TCR Discord. Kyler Bird, what is up? Let's go. My good friend Kyler Bird. Love Kyler. Appreciate you being here, my friend. So Javon Bullard, he's a guy I really like as a potential pick for the Cardinals on day 2. I think he would be a great addition to this roster, and has, again, reminds me a little bit of Brian Branch in terms of his player profile, who, you know, has been a really great player for the Lions. All right. Next, before we get into the actual mock drafts, I want to share something with you. I shared this on Twitter. You may remember last year, I did a video on Monty Ossenfort's draft strategy, projecting what his draft strategy would look like, you know, kind of using kind of how the Patriots and the Titans, they're kind of where they pick different positions in the draft when he was in their front offices, right, as the head of scouting and the other roles that he's had. You know, obviously we did not know what Monty Ossenfort would do exactly. He had no track record as a GM, but I felt that looking at the programs where he sort of cut his teeth, you know, would be a good way to get a sense for what to anticipate from him. So I put together, as Red Sea's calling it, the almighty chart. In fact, yes, in the Discord, they have an appropriate level of reference for the almighty chart. One of y'all made this. Was it you, Eric? Someone made this graphic with the almighty chart in the Discord, so I had to share it. The chart, right? Bow down to the chart. All bow to the mighty chart. So Aaron loves this. This is the favorite thing. Oh, and thank you, Dana, for noting. Yeah, this is the unweighted version, and I'm glad you noticed that. I have a version of it where I weighted the Cardinals picks as twice, if that makes sense. Like, so any picks, this is the updated version, right? This is the version of it this year that includes the Cardinals picks, right? 2023 Arizona picks. The version I did last year was just the Patriots and Titans picks to kind of project. And then this is the updated version that has included this. This is what I'm calling the unweighted, where I'm just counting the Cardinals picks as one pick. But I do have a version of it that I created where I weighted them, where I gave 2 points, 2 picks to an actual Cardinals pick. So they're weighted a little heavier in the chart. I'll continue to upgrade this over the years, and eventually, you know, we'll kind of take out the Patriots Titans stuff and be just Cardinals stuff probably, or have 2 versions of it. But yes, praise be the chart, be to the chart, all about the chart. So this chart, you know, and I will tell you, I looked at it. Last year's version rang true in the 2023 draft. Like the Cardinals picks all kind of were within line with it. Now, granted, there's a really large spread of picks. Like, you know, like you can take a wide receiver in any round and it fits, right? So it's what you really want to look at with this, though, is there are patterns, right? There are things you can see in this that give you a sense. For example, look at running back. As much as I've, been well documented, I'm a believer in kind of the day 3 running backs, kind of, what the San Francisco 49ers had done for a lot of years. If you look at it, the Patriots and Titans, they pick running backs on day 1 and 2, particularly in round 3, right? So, you would think, okay, if the Cardinals are going to take a running back, don't be surprised if they take one on day 2, or maybe wait till round 4 and early day 3. Another really important pattern, I think, here is you look at interior offensive line. they haven't taken an interior guard or center before round 3, and most of them you see in round 4 they really hit that position heavy at the beginning of day 3. And last year people have referenced John Michael Schmitz, and believe me, I was all aboard the JMS train. I mean, I made the song. Okay, I made the freaking song. John Michael Heiser Center Schmitz. And I would have loved to have drafted him, but I wasn't shocked when it came down to it that they didn't, because they weren't going to take a center that high, based on at least what this projected. And it seemed to ring true. They took the guard center who got injured, out of UCLA. They took him in the 4th round. So there are patterns here, right, that you can look at and see. They really like to take cornerbacks in the 2nd round, and then again late in the draft, right? They really look for their premium starting cornerbacks on the 2nd rounds in particular, a little bit, round 3. And then they like to take some shots on guys that they develop right in 6th and 7th round. Linebackers really like to take them in round 6. So there are certain patterns we can see. Tight end, they seem to take them late, in the time that he was there. Now we have to take into account, the Patriots did take Gronkowski in the 2nd round. That was before Monty was in a front office role there. But anyway, you can find this on my Twitter. This is here, the chart. And this is a really good guide when you're doing your own mock drafts. You don't necessarily have to bow to the almighty chart, unless, but listen, if you're outside of it, you're a heretic, right? No, but like, if you're looking just for a little bit of guidance when you're doing mock drafts, if you want your mock drafts to have maybe a little more realism, or to be more like what we think Monty might be prone to do, this is a good kind of guide, right? So let me say hey to a couple of folks that just jumped in, or in particular, we had Taylor Capero. Thank you for being here. What's up, Joe? So glad to see MDM back in action. We're so glad to have you here with us as well. I'll share this chart again as we go through Mock Draft Mondays. Again, it is on my Discord server. Which running back was taken the 1st round? You would have to ask it. What was it? I think he was out of Georgia. It was with the Patriots. Oh, I forget his name, but it was late 1st round, I believe. JP's got a good question. Have you seen the Detroit Lions because Sears came from there? I looked at it, but I decided not to put it in there. But that's a really good question, because obviously Sears, has some influence on there. But I'm going with Monty's kind of. Yeah, Sony Michel. That's exactly who it was. Thank you, Red Sea. That's the 1st round. And Brandon, yes, thank you. That's the 1st round running back. Henry was a 2nd round pick, right? So yeah. All right. So moving on. The almighty chart has, everyone bow to the almighty chart. That all picks must be in alignment with the almighty chart. So let's get on to the mock draft that I'm presenting. This is the one I did, and I kind of dropped a little in the Discord, a little kind of a tease that people are going to love it or hate it. I really like it. I did something a little different. But before I get into it, let me just I saw this one tweet that is relevant, and it's precursor, and you might get a sense of something I've done based on this. Lance Zierlein, who does stuff for, NFL.com, does good work is kind of over all their draft content and player profiles and grades and stuff. He kind of retweeted something Kyle Odegaard, and then whoever Topher is, kind of was like, kind of calling out Zierlein's, mock draft that had the Cardinals taking Malik Neighbors ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr., which I know for many people is blasphemy. And, Zierlein says that honestly, 1 to 5 would not even be controversial with most league executives, in my opinion. They may have the slotting different, but I think this would be fairly believable. And I will say, like, Lance Zierlein, I follow him on Twitter, and I think he makes some good points that, the fan narrative is that Marvin Harrison Jr. is Calvin Johnson, reincarnated, right? And that there's no other player that you could possibly take ahead of him unless you need a quarterback. And while I am on the boat that Marvin Harrison Jr. would be my wide receiver 1, and there's no one I would take ahead of him as the Cardinals, that's sort of a fan and media narrative. And a guy like Lance Zierlein, not that he's all knowing, but he has a lot of contacts, and he has a lot of conversations with GMs and player personnel folks. And I know that it's smokescreen season, right? And I know that you can't believe everything. But like a guy like a lot of time, a guy like Lance Zierlein knows more than we know, and he'll have a take like this that we're like, oh no way, and then it ends up being that maybe he does know a little something. So I'm not saying Malik Neighbors is going ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. But I don't think it's, from what I've seen from Lance Zierlein's tweets, and I've seen from other people saying the same thing amongst player personnel folks. I don't think that that Marvin Harrison Jr. is necessarily as far ahead of the other receivers in the eyes of personnel folks as we all think he is. I still think Harrison's going first, but I throw this out there. Jordan P saying Lance Sterling just likes to be contrarian, is wrong a lot of times. I mean, everyone's wrong a lot. Let's be real. Everyone's wrong a lot of times, but I mean, I think, he challenges some of the narratives, but I respect his work. So yeah. Yeah. And MKT Bongo, thanks for being here. We have talked about this in Discord too. It's a war, right? And yeah, LSU produces great receivers. That's absolutely true. So I put this tweet as a little precursor. I will tell you, no, I didn't take Malik Neighbors with Marvin Harrison Jr. on the board, but here is my mock draft. Now, I will tell you, Harrison was off the board when I picked, okay, or when 4 came up. When pick 4 came up, Marvin Harrison Jr. was off the board. So I traded back with the Giants, figured they would go up to get a quarterback, and I took Malik Neighbors at number 6. But then, and I did this, I was very intentional about this. I kind of watched and I waited until, there's the 2 top pass rushers, the guy out of Alabama and then Jared Verse. And I wanted to get one of the 2. So I kind of slow rolled the draft and I waited till one of them went off the board. And it was the guy from Alabama. And then I paused and I traded up the very next pick because I did not want to get locked out. And I went after, grabbed Jared Verse with pick 15. So I traded up pick 27 and 71 for pick 15 and 193 and moved up and got one of the better edge rushers. I think the Cardinals really need a top flight edge rusher. And there are some guys I like in the second round. There's guys Latu that a lot of people like. With Latu, I like him. The injury is the only concern, right? I like Chop Robinson, in the second round, but the production history, he's got the physical traits and his grades are really good, but the sack production, I mean, hasn't been there yet at the same level. Doesn't mean he won't be a good player, but I really wanted to get an elite edge rusher. And I knew if I waited to pick 27, they'd be gone. So I intentionally, and it's a little bit like what they did last year, right? Remember, they traded back and then they traded back up, although I did it a little bit differently. They traded back and then back up and then PJJ. I traded back, took Malik Neighbors, and then I used a 27th pick and then some other pick draft capital to move up and get one of the top 2 edge rushers, because the edge rusher, I think there's it's not the edge rushers on day 2 aren't at the same level. And I really wanted to get one of the elite ones. So I moved up and I knew that there were cornerbacks I could still get in second round. So I did that to get Jared Verse. Then I got TJ Tampa in the second round, one of the top cornerbacks in the draft. Jordan Morgan was still there, got that tackle, right, to go as a bookend alongside Paris Johnson Jr. I was really pleased to see him there. Then in round 3, I went with Junior Colson, went a linebacker. I think they need a really good linebacker, starting caliber linebacker. I think you can get that on day 2. Junior Colson, one of the better linebackers, so I went that route. And then in the third round with pick 90, I went Devontae Sweat, a really big nose tackle type player. And I think this defense really likes to have a good nose tackle. You look at with Philadelphia, they drafted the big guy out of Georgia, to be their nose tackle. And you look at how much the Cardinals played Leki Fotu. And I know like Leki Fotu has not been good for the Cardinals, but they played him a lot because like his player profile, the build, they want a big guy who they can play on running downs at nose tackle. And they want that so badly that they played Leki Fotu a lot before he got injured. So I went with Devontae Sweat, who would be a guy that can in the third round who comes in to fill that role. I went with another defensive lineman, Leonard Taylor, in the 4th round, trying to shore up that defensive rotation. Went with an athletic tight end out of Penn State, Theo Johnson. Shout out to Robert Moore for kind of mentioning him to get some depth there. Then went with a center out of Penn State, Hunter Nurzad. Then went, they on the almighty chart, they go linebacker a lot in round 6. So I went with an athletic linebacker out of UCLA. Then they like to go receiver and cornerback a lot in the 7th round. So I went with a smaller receiver, Dominic Levitt out of Georgia, and then grabbed a developmental cornerback in the 7th round. So that's kind of what I did there. But I loved the trading back, getting Neighbors, adding some picks, but then coming back and getting Verse. And in that, I've got a future, I come away with this with a future 3rd round pick in addition to what I was able to maneuver around here with. So got Verse, got a cornerback. I love that, Jordan Morgan was still there. So this is kind of what I did with that. We'll get to some of the comments and say hey to some of the folks that have jumped in as well. Jason Krell, thank you for being here. Hey Joe, what's up, bud? Long time no see. It's been a little while. I appreciate you hanging out with us. We got Lance, longtime supporter. Thanks for being here. All right, I'm here. How are you, Joe? And how wrong are we going to be with all these picks? I am well, Lance. I really appreciate you hanging out with us. You've been around. You've been one of the OGs. Yeah, we're all going to be wrong, right? We'll see. Though I'm still proud that my final mock draft, I actually had 2 picks that were right. Keitrell Clark and Garrett Williams were both on my final mock draft. They took Keitrell later than I had him, but I actually had the exact right pick with Garrett Williams. And it was funny because that was a traded pick. But although I had us getting that pick in a trade, a different trade. But anyway, let's see. Got a couple other comments. Robert, I like this. I like the draft, Joe, especially the fact you got that monster tight end. Yeah, right. You had mentioned him to me in a message. Chop is interesting because he practices for all. That's also a good point. Really good tackle prospect in this draft. We got Drew saying that would be a really solid draft. Addresses all our needs with guys who can definitely play. I like it too. But of course it's mine, so I'm a little biased, right? Kyler saying, not sure why PFF continues to rate Devontae Sweat so low. Really don't think he lasts tonight. I think that's a good point. And as we get closer to the draft, these rankings will get adjusted, and we saw that last year. That's what happens, right? And so absolutely that's going to happen. We'll see. We'll probably see him moving up, right? So. Yeah, he will eat blocks, definitely. Brian S., finally make it. Solid mock show. Thank you. Appreciate you hanging out with us. I got your mock draft later on in the show. Can't get any better than Sweat, that's for sure, right? I like the linebacker pick in round 3. Yeah, me too. Like the Cardinals, we're all kind of snake bitten by linebackers in the first round because of he who should not be named, right? So we're maybe a little we've maybe gone a little too far from the idea of drafting linebackers, but we do need, I think we really struggled at inside linebacker, especially after they moved, my brain's not working, but yeah, they moved him to edge, right? Our guy, Zaven Collins to edge. And then we had some injuries. Kaiser White got injured. And I think we really do need a good inside linebacker, but you can find good middle linebackers in round 2 and 3, like really good guys that are potentially Pro Bowlers, so I liked getting a linebacker there as well, for sure. Mazika Felix, thanks for being here. Sorry, not a fan of round 2. Tampa falling, and Morgan is going to be a guard in the NFL. Maybe, yeah, we'll see. So Chris saying end of last year showed we're severely lacking depth there. Yep, for sure. Drew saying Theo, yeah, the tight end is 10.0 on the relative athletic scores, right? Yeah. Jordan piece saying Neighbors had real off-field issues. I'm sure it won't sit well with Monty. Beer reported he had heard from former college Monty that he sees Marvin as a wheelhouse prospect like he did Paris. Okay, I could see that. I think. I mean, and I even like Rome Odunze better as like a fit as the big receiver, but I went with Neighbors here because it seems to be kind of the consensus guy that's up there. But if they trade back and Odunze is the guy, I would certainly be happy with that, right? Robert Sand, I'll give you a grade of A. Good draft overall. Thank you. Thunder, thanks for being here. Hey, good to see you again. This will be a very fun draft, no matter what. I agree. MKT Bongo, do you think center's so much draft position even for Froholt? Great question, because I was all in on we need to draft a center, and that now Froholt seems he came on towards the end of the season. He played better. Um, I don't think it's as much of a must as I thought it was, right? The guy his name escapes me. It's the guy they drafted out of UCLA who got injured. They also saw him as a potential center. I think they're gonna let Froholt be the starter, and I think they're gonna draft and try to develop someone. But I don't think it's as much of a priority as it was before, especially the way he came on towards the end. So yeah, thanks for being here, Carvich. I like that draft addresses the needs. My thought are if we trade back with no Marvin Harrison Jr., I have to take Alt or Fushu, then trade for Brian Thomas. That's an interesting thought. So my only issue with that for me, when I look at the way I think Monty is going to draft, like they take offensive tackles early, right? They take them all throughout the draft, actually, first round all the way through seventh. But I really think that they're going to see Paris Johnson Jr. as their left tackle of the future, and that's why they drafted him that high. And I think that Monty's going to look at it like, okay, the other tackle we're going to bring in here at some point, probably this year actually, is going to be more of a right tackle. And you don't have to draft that as early. If they want to go rich, they can get a guy in the second round like I did here, Jordan Morgan, or someone else that maybe you think is a better fit for right tackle. Maybe pick someone, if they really want to go rich, pick someone to pick 27. But you can get a guy who can be a starting right tackle in the NFL second, third round or later. And I think Monty, from his time with New England, they believe they can find that guy. So I just don't think they're going to go offensive tackle in the first half of the draft, because I think they're going to look at it as we're drafting a right tackle and we can get a good starting right tackle later. And instead we can address a more important need right now, like edge or something. So that's how I see it. Watch them prove me wrong. Right. But so I just don't think Alt or Fashu are the guys that we're going to see the Cardinals take. Listen, we're all wrong. Sometimes I could be wrong, right? AVB with the super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, your support, and I appreciate your friendship. Any chances of non-wide receiver with our first pick? Yes, I think so. I think if they trade back far enough, and if someone who wants a quarterback offers a lot, but they have to trade back a little further and the top three guys are gone, I could absolutely see them trading back and grabbing one of the edge rushers and deciding that they like a guy like Keon Coleman or one of the receivers in the second round, right? And they're going to trust the draft capital. I absolutely could see that. I still think the odds-on favorite is Marvin Harrison Jr., and I think if they trade back, the most likely thing they trade back for is still one of the top receivers. But I could absolutely see them liking the value later in the first round or in the second round, and building a defense and offensive line and kind of, going with that, right? And going with a little different direction. So thank you for the super chat. And I think that's absolutely possible. Yeah. Jason say, hey, Joe, do you think we should trim down the roster to get more cap space? I don't think we should cut any. I mean, I think there's players that you might move on. I think DJ Humphries, people have talked about that. I think there's a good chance he's going to be gone. We'll see. And I kind of predicted that when they took Paris Johnson Jr. You go back, watch my video, the Paris Johnson Jr. reaction video, kind of say that I think that 2023 might be, DJ Humphries' last season with the Cardinals. I thought that sort of kind of foretold that. So I think good chance you see him cut, maybe a few other players, but I don't think this team needs to trim to get cap space, because I don't think they're going to be, spending tons of money in free agency. I think they will do more than they did last year, but I think Monty has said they're going to build through the draft. They have good amount of cap space. I think I don't think it's going to be an aggressive trimming of cap. I think, again, DJ Humphries, maybe another player here or there, but I don't think it's going to be really aggressive. Dana's saying a lot of dual purpose guard centers late in this draft. Yep, for sure. And again, if you go watch kind of the video I did about Monty's kind of draft strategy, it was either that or the one I did about offensive linemen, but one of them where I chronicle kind of the players that they've took, guys they found late in the draft in New England that ended up being good players. So yeah, Jordan P saying we need PFF up to these rankings because they have guys like Taylor 100, but he's way too talented to go that far. Similar to what? Yep. We got Facundo Morrissey. Thank you for being here. Gaines, that's the guy. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, that's the guard that we took. Absolutely. Drew saying Morgan measures like a tackle, just not enough, I think, to keep him there. Maybe with right tackle they're able to. But we'll see. Lance, thanks again for being here. Do you think they lock Zavin at edge forever? He was a good inside linebacker, but they moved him. They get a top guy in the draft. You think they move him back? I wish they would move him back. I feel like they're going to be committed to moving him to edge. I think they're going to move him to edge, keep him at edge. I wish they didn't, but they have their reasons. I think he's going to stay there, and I don't know. I'm not sure that he will be back after this year. There's plenty of people talking about that they're not going to pick up his 5th year option, which I think makes sense. I love Zavin, but he just, with the way they've moved around, he hasn't really become a star. And I think part of that's on what the organization's done. So I think unfortunately he's going to play out this year at edge. I mean, maybe he comes back on a deal that's not too bad, but I don't have a great feeling about his future. It's part of the last regime. I like him as a player, but we'll see. Yeah. John Gaines. Thank you, Coley Jack. Appreciate that. Hear me out. Later in the draft, we cannot miss Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. Braylon Allen? Is he a running back or tight? I've seen that name. Help me out with the AVB. Let's see. Say hey, Rafael. Thank you for being here. What's up, my boy? I appreciate you hanging out with us, Rafael Castillo, another guy who's in the Discord. Robert saying, I do have a question. If Marvin Harris Jr. at 4, if a situation presents itself, would it be possible to trade up the 2nd round pick to a first initially to get 3 first round picks with what? I have to read that again. Okay, so if Marvin Harris Jr. at 4, if a situation presents itself, would it be possible to trade up the 2nd round pick up to a first initially to get 3 first round picks with a 5th year option? Okay, I see what you're saying. So would they potentially move up so that they can have 3 players at important positions that they have that 5th year option? That's interesting. I think teams could potentially do that. I don't think Monty is going to do that. I think he will move around the board, but I think, and this is from the Patriots school of thought, they were always much more likely to trade back than up. And the Patriots always place a high value on 2nd round picks. And there's some research that shows that like the value of picks, 2nd round picks actually like are one of the most valuable picks in terms of like surplus value. There's some interesting research on that. And I think the Patriots buy into that. I think Monty comes from that school of thought, and I don't think he's going to try to get that cute. I mean, I see the rationale wanting to lock those in, but I just don't think that's what would happen. But it's interesting thought, right? All right. I've got a lot of comments, so I don't want to get too much. Aaron Van Buren, love you, Joe. Love you too, my friend. Hope you're doing, Aaron, you and your family are doing. Oh no, Coach Aaron Van Buren. My brain. Evan Barley, Coach. I hope you and your family are doing well. I know it's a rough go right now with the Suns. We're all feeling that. But Evan, I appreciate you and love you too, my friend. All right. Let's get to what y'all are really here for, right? You've listened to me talk about my mock draft and stuff long enough, but what you really want to see is your mock drafts, right? That's the real show, right? So let's get into it. We're going to look at the mock drafts that were submitted. If I miss anyone's, I apologize. I try to get them all in here, but let's get into it. First up, I'm not going to try to pronounce this. And real quick, people saying Brandon Allen, running back, should do a profile. Maybe I will. Might do that. We'll see. So Mitfriedlichen Fuben, it's German. I actually looked this up in Translate to make sure it wasn't something offensive, and it was like a greeting. So, but I don't speak German. All right. So I already butchered that pronunciation, that Twitter account. But this draft, we start out solid with Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Then we, at the 27th pick, we get offensive tackle Guyton, right? A lot of people liking taking that position there, tackle there at pick 27. Let's see. We've got Leonard Taylor. We get in the second round. We've got a defensive tackle. Then we got Ennis Registraw, junior cornerback out of Missouri, pick 66. Pick 71, another cornerback out of Rutgers, Max Melton. And we got Peyton Wilson, linebacker, NC State at pick 90. So I really like this draft. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr., we know what, who he is and what he is. Taking tackle at pick 27 is a very good possibility. There's a couple good players that might be there. Getting some defensive tackle help, I really like. I don't know that they're going to double up on cornerback. They took 2 cornerbacks last year. I know there's reports, and I think they're going to probably try to get some cornerback help in free agency. So I don't know that they would do 2 there, but who knows? I think we would like to see an edge somewhere on day 1 or 2. But love Peyton. We'll get a athletic linebacker Peyton Wilson in the third round as well, right? So I think that's really overall. I would have wanted to get an edge in there instead of a second cornerback, but I certainly like what you did there. Lance asking, Joe, I know it's a sensitive subject, but do you think New Dream looks at quarterback in the draft? I know that we took Tune later in last year. Do you think they take someone like Milton for Tennessee? I could see them taking a quarterback later. Like Tune didn't, aside from the quarterback sneaks, he really was not good at all. I mean, he was really horrendous in the Browns game. So I could see them, if they feel like Tune was a whiff, right? That they feel like, that he's not a guy who is good, has what it takes to be that backup quarterback long-term. I could see them taking someone. I mean, again, going back to the Patriots way, so to speak, that Monty Austin for, where he cut his teeth, they took quarterbacks. They took them early, like second, third, fourth round. They took guys like Jacoby Brissett, right? And guys like that, Jimmy Garoppolo. They took guys like that and had them as backups and eventually traded them when their contract rookie deal was almost up. But their philosophy was not averse to going a little rich in terms of draft capital for your backup quarterback. So I could see that. I don't know that I think that's what they're going to do, though, because there's so many other needs. I think they'd rather try to build a roster and maybe get a veteran backup. But it wouldn't shock me. It's in keeping with what they do, and at least getting a backup, right? Jordan P. likes Max Melton as a backup cornerback, dominated the combine, can play outside a lot. Peyton Wilson, nice athletic linebacker, 90 would be a steal. Mazaki Felix said Taylor bombed his stock at combine. His profile was terrible. Okay. Let's see. There was some news that they were leaving Paris at right tackle just for now. In your opinion, then, Joe? I mean, if they do that, I mean, that's possible. I think when you draft a guy, 6th overall, or did they trade back? I'm trying to where they ended up picking finally. I think it was 6th. When you take a guy that high, you take him to be a left tackle, in my opinion. So I think if they are going to keep him at right tackle, I think it's going to be just for now. But we'll see. Yeah, AVB. I wish I was on the stream for all long time. Dude, you're welcome on my stream, man. You want to be back on? Let me know. So yeah. Fun fact: I met Clayton Toon's sister and cousin at a bar in Sagatuck, Michigan, on opening weekend. Nice. All right, so I just like, if DJ Humphries is going to be gone, which we think he is. I mean, who are they? Are they going to sign at starting left tackle? I don't think they're going to start. What's his name? The veteran that they've got, right? Kellen Beachum. I don't think they're going to start him. I think they're going to start Paris Jr. Unless, I don't know. I mean, if they go tackle early, maybe they do that. I just don't. I don't think so. But this is me speculating on what makes sense to me. I don't have insider info on that, so that's interesting. All right, beach bum. Yeah. All right, next mock draft we have Dakota Bedard. He's got starting off strong again with Marvin Harrison Jr. Then we got the defensive tackle Byron Murphy II out of Texas. Guy, a lot of people have him going in the first round, moving up boards. Listen, I would definitely love to see some help there. Got Braylon Trice, edge out of Washington. So we've really done some good stuff up front there. Christian Mahogany, offensive guard out of Boston College. We talked about with the chart. I don't think they go guard that early, but they could use help at the position, no doubt. Then we got offensive tackle Roger Rosengarten out of Washington. So you got a guy a little bit later, tackle, maybe looking more for a swing tackle or right tackle. Kalen King, cornerback out of Penn State, who really, ran a really poor 40 time. I think it was 4.6. His draft stock, a lot of people think is going down because of that. Then we got Bo Limmer, offensive center of Arkansas. That's a more likely spot where I could see them going like interior offensive line. Tommy Eichenberg, linebacker, Ohio State. Love getting a linebacker somewhere there. And then Kenny Logan Jr., safety out of Kansas. Kingsley Aguakin, I'm sure I butchered that, center out of Florida. Trey Knox, tight end out of Carolina. So you went with a lot of offensive line help here. 3 offensive linemen, 4 offensive linemen. I don't think they go that many offensive linemen, but they definitely could use some help, right? Drew McWhorter saying Kyle Odegaard mentioned that Beach is not in the plan as a starter a couple weeks ago. I think, yeah, and I think I read that too. He's a good backup swing tackle, but yeah, I would agree. Yeah, not another Byron Murphy, but Aaron, this Byron Murphy second, the upgraded version, right? All right, so Drew saying I'm a big Roger Rosengarten fan. I don't know if he's day one star, but I really like his upside. Nice. I have to look at him a little bit more. And, one of the things I love about Mock Draft Mondays is it's a chance for me to learn this draft class. That's kind of what we do. We learn the draft class together, right? Robert saying, I don't like guard over tackle. People forget Gaines still on the team, overboard on the offensive lineman, grade D+. Okay. Yeah. I think a little over about an offensive lineman, but there's some nice picks here, no doubt. Next, we got Breadstick Daddy, Austin. I don't know if Austin's hanging out with us or not, but regular contributor in the Discord as well. So he, again, Marvin Harrison Jr., right, starting off strong. Then we've got Ennis Rickstraw, the junior, the cornerback at pick 27, so going cornerback there. Chop Robinson, we talked about him, going edge in the second round. Devondre Sweat, pick 66. Then we got wide receiver Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky. I don't know a lot about him right now, but getting another wide receiver in there. Then we got Leonard Taylor III, more defensive line help. Then we got Christian Jones, tackle out of Texas. So didn't, no real trades are moving around here, kind of stick and picked with his draft picks. So yeah, I like a lot of these picks. I like what you did. I probably that third round wide receiver, since we've got a receiver early, and I probably would have looked for addressing a different position, whether it's interior offensive line, maybe even running back, tight end. That's me. But yeah, overall, I like what we've got here. Let's see. Kuiper reckons Rosengarten is going second round after his combine. Interesting. So he had a good combine. So yeah. All right. So let's go on to the next one. What Mizaki Felix saying, I know I have a minority opinion, but I don't want to take a wide receiver with our first pick. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the ride or die for many people, but I listen. I will say this, and I've made this kind of statement before. If I'm picking at number 4, the only player I'm taking at number 4 if I'm the Cardinals is Marvin Harrison Jr., but I don't think it's as bad an idea as some people think it is to trade back, get one of those other receivers, and add some draft capital. I think there are 3 receivers in this class that are all potential Pro Bowl caliber number 1 receivers, and if you trade back and get one of those other guys, right, like Roma Dunze, and you also in that trade get a future first round pick or another really good pick that ends up being another starter at a position in need, I don't hate that. So yeah. All right, next we have Kyler Bird, who is in the house. All right, Kyler really mixing it up here. So he did a trade back, got pick number 8, 43, and 78. So he got to move back a couple spots and got a second and a third round pick. And going spicy here. he went with Byron Murphy the second, right? The upgraded Byron Murphy at pick 8. So, got that some defensive line help. Kool-Aid McKinstry got one of the top cornerbacks at pick 27 with Jordan Morgan. So we got that tackle. Then finally went receiver with Ricky Perlson out of Florida. I don't know a lot about him yet. Still learning getting familiar with the draft class. Need to check him out. Junior Colson, linebacker, who was in my draft. Then we got an edge, Austin Booker, right, at pick 71. Then we got another receiver, so Brendan Rice at pick 79. So instead of going receiver early, he's kind of going, with a couple receivers to see if, one of them, if you can kind of go a depth sort of approach, I guess. Guard Mason McCormick in round 3. So, they will take interior offensive line early based on the almighty chart. In the third round. So that's about as early as they will. So you must really like him if you're going to take him that early. Cornerback Cam Hart. So got another cornerback out of Notre Dame. Makai Wingo, LSU defensive interior lineman. Got a running back, Cody Schrader late out of Missouri. Center Dylan McMahon out of North Carolina State. Then safety Trey Taylor out of Air Force in round 7. So I know you, and I saw you posted this on Twitter, Kyler, and good on you for doing that. And you took maybe a little bit of heat for that, right? But Barmer, listen, I love getting some defensive interior line help. For me, I probably want to get a little higher a receiver in this, but I don't hate it. No, I mean, love getting Murphy Jr. McKinstry's a good player, getting that linebacker like there. So yeah. So Kyler's saying I will die on the Cody Schrader hill. So I maybe I need to learn more about him. The running back you pick in the 6th round. So yeah, let's see. Let's get some of the comments here. Raphael saying Joe Alt is a serious option at 4. He's a freaking monster and had multiple years of blue chip play. I mean, listen, I wouldn't hate it, but I talked about that earlier. I don't think tackle that early, but we'll see, right? Yeah, Dana's asking, was Verse return available? That's early for Murphy, right? Yeah. Let's see if there's Ryan Lindsay. Thanks for being here. With our 27, I say we should trade up for something like Amaris Mims or JC Latham. Have to protect K1. I could see that, right? Yeah. All right. Here we go. So next up, we have Brian Sinister, who I think you were in the chat earlier. So he starts again, Marvin Harrison Jr., cornerback, Ennis Rakestraw at 27, Devontae Sweat at 35, got the defensive line help. Then we've got interior offensive line, Christian Haynes. So you have defiled the almighty chart. You have not, that is blasphemy, right? Going interior offensive line that early, but okay. You better like him, right? UConn guard there. Mason Smith, defensive line out of LSU, getting some more defensive line help. Junior Colson, popular pick tonight, right, is that linebacker out of Michigan, Junior Colson. Brandon Dorless, edge out of Oregon. So getting edge on day 2, or was that, is that 3rd or 4th round? It's somewhere in that border there. We've got Audric Asim, running back out of Notre Dame, in pick 137. Then Theo Johnson, the tight end that was on mine that we've talked about a little bit. Matt Goncalves, offensive tackle out of Pittsburgh. And then we got Ronaldo Green, safety out of Florida State. Eric Watts, edge. Storm Duck, quarterback out of Louisville. The draft is good only because of Storm Duck, right? That's such a great name, right? So yeah, I mean, I think obviously we love Marvin Harrison Jr. getting cornerback, somewhere late round 1 or early round 2 is good. Like Sweat, if you have to take him that early to get him, I like that. Again, the interior offensive line, I wouldn't go that early, but that's me. And well, that's also the almighty chart. I like that you got some defensive line help. I think they need to get a couple guys on that defensive line. I think they need to get a top flight edge rusher, and they need to get at least 2 interior defensive linemen. In my opinion, I wouldn't hate it if they got 3 if they're going a little bit later. Like they need some bodies there. They have too many retreads and borderlines, bubble roster guys last year. So definitely love getting some help there. going offensive tackle late, going maybe more for the right tackle side. So yeah, I like it. Lance saying, hey Joe, look into Daniel Arias for the Cardinals. He could be a sleeper on team next year. I'll have to check him out for the show. All right. So next up we have Robert Moore, who has been in the house tonight. All right. We have Daniel Arias, that's the receiver. Yep, I remember him. Yep. So Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 4. Jerzon Newton, the player I liked, interior defensive lineman out of Illinois. I wonder if he'll be there. If he's there at 27, I would love that. If you get him at pick 27, I am ecstatic. And then we've got Kingsley Suamatia. I'm sure I butchered that. Offensive tackle out of BYU. So you get that right tackle potentially there, unless he ends up being moved in guard. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm not sure if he's going to stay out there or not. We got Peyton Wilson, the athletic linebacker. I love that. Then we got Chris Abrams-Drain, cornerback out of Missouri. Then Tyler Davis, more defensive line help. I like that. Brandon Allen, yes, we got some folks happy about that, right? Aaron Van Buren saying, I trained him when he was a high schooler in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. That's why I'm so hyped for him. Of course, that would be why, huh? Lance getting out here. Good night, Joe. Good stuff talking. Thanks for hanging out with us for a bit. Theo Johnson, we got the tight end, right? Who I know we talked about a little bit today. Then Renardo Green, safety out of Florida State. Johnny Dixon, cornerback. Miles Cole, edge out of Texas Tech. Trevor Keegan, interior offensive line out of Michigan. Marcus Roseme Jackson, it's truncated there. Wide receiver out of Georgia. I like this draft, Robert. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. Obviously, we love Marvin Harrison Jr., but I really love getting Jerzon Newton at pick 27. If that happens, I am really excited. Wilson, love that. Speedy linebacker. And I really like that you got a couple players. You've got, Tyler Davis and Jerzon Newton. So, you went earlier with the interior defensive line help. So you went with 2 of them and went earlier. But I really like that. So, yeah, it's good. I like it. All right. So next up we have Chris Young, who I think was in the chat earlier. Starting obviously with Marvin Harrison Jr. Then Amarius Mims, offensive tackle of Georgia. Really like that, right? I know a lot of people really high in him. Then Leonard Taylor, defensive tackle. I know we've had him a few times, talked about him a bit. Then Ennis Rakestraw. I don't think he's fallen that far, but I know the different mock draft simulators have different rankings. Brendan Dorless, edge out of Oregon. Johnny Wilson, wide receiver, Florida State. Mason Smith, defensive tackle, LSU. Then Mason McCormick, offensive guard, South Dakota State. Again, I love it when we get if your mock draft has at least 2 defensive linemen, that's already a good start for me. So you don't like the one too many? I think we need at least 2. I think you need a depth rotation of those guys. You need a stable those guys you can rotate, in my opinion. But love the first 2 picks, Mims and Harrison, right? Leonard Taylor, maybe I'd go with a different player there, but like the defensive tackle for sure. Help and getting, Rakestraw won't go that late, I don't think, but definitely like it. So yeah. All right. Next up we have Karvich, who was in the chat earlier. Marvin Sanders Jr. again. Damian Robinson, Damian, I bet it's pronounced Damian. Someone tell me if I'm wrong about that. Edge out of Penn State. We got Graham Barton, interior offensive line out of Duke. I think that's early for interior offensive line. We talked about that before, but the almighty chart has spoken. Peyton Wilson, love that, right? Rook Ororo, I'm sure I'm butchering that, but defensive line in Clemson, he's been on a few of my mock drafts. I like that. Chris Abrams-Strain, cornerback Missouri. Braylon Allen, running back Wisconsin. So we know that's a win right there, right? So, thank you, Jordan. See, we learn something every day. Chop Robinson, like it. Okay. Barton Pickett versus, you see him as a right tackle. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for the correction there. All right. So now, okay. I like it. I like the defensive line help. Although we don't have the full later rounds, so might have got that there. But no, Marvin Harrison Jr., Chop Robinson, then I like that. If you see Barton as a tackle, then okay, I'm good with that. Love Wilson. Yeah. Dana saying, I love Barton to tackle, so well balanced, never gets hands outside of frame. Too many people say he's got a gotcha. Okay. Well, if you think he's a tackle, then that's good for me. So, Jordan P saying Barton's a strong dude. He can play tackle, guard, and center. I think Packers take him round one, fits their offensive line philosophy. Okay, see that. Robertson, hey Joe, did you see the pick of Braylon Allen 17 years ago? At 17 years old with JJ Watt's response? I did not. So I have to. Oh, the picture. I don't know that I. Oh wait, maybe I did. He was like all jacked and JJ Watt showed his picture and it was very different. Okay. I think I did see that. Yeah. All right. Nice mock. Gazornik. Brian with a mock draft. He also traded back and got Malik Neighbors, much like me in terms of that pick. Then he went with Amaris Mims, a tackle. So I know that's a really nice pick. A lot of people like Mims, really good athletic profile. Kamari Lassiter, obviously, son of the late Kwame Lassiter, right? Cornerback out of Georgia. Darius Robinson got an edge there. Christian Haynes, it's the third round, so it checks out. I'll let it pass. It goes with the chart, right? So guard, they're going a little early, but if you think he's a starter and it's, a third round pick, I can go with that. Devondre Sweat, love that, right? Again, we don't know that he's going to be that late, but yes. Then we got Cedric Van Pran, a guy who, center out of Georgia, is like that, right? So we're really helping that interior offensive line. Leonard Taylor, Trey Benson, a running back who really great athleticism, really like his potential. Brennan Jackson, edge out of Washington State. Isaiah Davis, South Dakota State halfback. So I got a couple halfbacks. Then Trey Taylor, safety out of Air Force. So I really like some of those picks here. I like obviously trading back, getting Neighbors and adding some draft capital. Getting Mims is nice. Getting a quarterback and Lassiter, Darius Robinson edge. Yeah, got a couple defensive linemen. Got some guard and center help. Got a couple edge rushers to develop. So yeah, I like this. I might want to go edge a little earlier if it's me, but I think Darius Robinson's second round is nice. And yeah, I think overall good draft. I like it. Calvin, thanks for being here. Like many would love to draft Harrison, but trading back might be as good or better. Shout out to Monty. We'll see soon. Yeah. Whatever Monty does, I trust. Right. So yeah. Trey Benson is some people's RB1. Getting him in the fifth round would be great value. Yeah. He's a guy I keep looking at. So yeah. All right. Next up we have O-Cards, who submitted this in the Discord. So we start, and he includes some of his trade recap here. Marvin Harrison Jr. We see Fuaga, offensive tackle at 15, so he's got to trade back up to get one of the better tackles. Devondre Sweat at pick 44. Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker at 66. Brandon Fisk, defensive lineman out of Florida State. He had a pretty good combine, if I'm remembering correctly, Fisk, and he's a guy that people are talking about a little bit. Dana loves Fuaga as a beast at right tackle, right? And Jordan P loves that too. Instant A2 Pro Bowl level starters day one. Yeah, okay. That would be nice. Dominic Cooney, interior offensive line in Kansas. Brendan Rice, wide receiver at USC. Renardo Green, safety. Frank Gore Jr., running back. Braden McGregor, edge, and Miles Jones, quarterback. Now, I think this is a good draft, especially in the front end. Need to learn a little, as we go through, get more familiar with some of the deeper players in the draft class. But the days 1 and 2 really nailed this one. So nicely done. Bad medicals for Fisk. Huh? Okay, interesting. So nice mock, getting some rave reviews. But yes. All right. Next up, we have Red Sea. All right. Red Sea traded back and went with Roma Dunze, right? Wide receiver out of Washington, big, one of the top 3, and he's the taller of between Neighbors and him, right? So I like that. I did a mock draft with the One Barn Lipicus show. They had content creators covering each team go on and do the pick. And I was picking for the Cardinals, and Marvin Harrison Jr. was off the board. and they weren't doing trades, so I had to stick and pick, so I took Rome Odunze even with Malik Neighbors still there in that, because I think the bigger receiver is a better fit for what they want to do. Even though I took Neighbors in today's mock draft, I think, Odunze is probably a better fit as the big receiver. But Marius Mims, then we got the edge, Darius Robinson, TJ Tampa. Dana's not sold on him yet, out of Iowa State. Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker, Texas A&M. Leonard Taylor, defensive line. Christian Mahogany, interior offensive line, Boston College. Dwight McLeathers, quarterback, Arkansas. Jalen Wright, running back, Tennessee. Christian Boyd, defensive line, Northern Iowa. Hunter Norzad, interior offensive line, Penn State. Damani Richardson, safety, Texas A&M. Joshua Cephas, wide receiver, UT San Antonio. And Will Reichert, a kicker. Went with a kicker. Okay. No, I like it. I mean, I love, I think getting Amarius Mims is a good value there if he's there. I like getting the trade back and getting some extra picks. I know Daniel's not sold TJ Tampa, but getting him at pick 43 is nice. A lot of people have him going earlier than that. Getting a linebacker, getting some defensive line help, offensive line helper. Yeah, I like the positions you addressed here. I think you did a lot of nice things, but Dana says, other than Tampa and Taylor's character concerns, this is a very good draft. So, yeah. All right, next up, hiding out now, 77. He included kind of the full draft first round to note, I think probably mainly to demonstrate that Marvin Harrison Jr. was off the board when he came up to pick. So he traded back, went to 7, Malik Neighbors, kind of like I did. He got Byron Murphy the second at pick 27. Then you got Troy Fautanu, offensive tackle at Washington at 35. Some people think he's likely to be a guard, so I don't know. We'll have to see. TJ Tampa showing up again, right, at pick 38. So another cornerback. Peyton Wilson, love that pick. Tyler Newman, safety, Minnesota. Brandon Fisk, we talked about him earlier, defensive tackle. Christian Mahogany, offensive guard, Boston College. Marshawn Nealand, edge, Western Michigan. Down Hooker, tight end, Colorado State, to go with the other Colorado State tight end that we all love, right? Joe Milton, quarterback, Tennessee, and then running back Carson Steele out of UCLA. So I like this draft. I mean, trading back, getting Malik Neighbors, and getting defensive line help. I'm big on that. I think that's just a big need. But getting some offensive line help, cornerback, getting the tight end there. I really like that, right? So yeah, I like this. Simon, thanks for being here. Joe, good to see you. And Bird Gang Mock Draft Monday is back. Say hi from Macau today. Appreciate you hanging out with us. So yes, I think I like this draft. I think I really like what you did here overall. Next up, Dana, who has been giving us some great commentary in the chat. Dana is here with us. So Dana traded back, went with Dallas Turner the edge. I like getting the edge early, right? So kind of you're going a little controversy for some people, right? Something a little provocative, not going with receiver. Yep, it's me. Appreciate you, Dana, and what you do in the Discord. So I love getting Dallas Turner the edge there early with the trade back. Then Jerzon Newton get the interior defensive line help. Then, Adonai Mitchell getting a wide receiver at Texas, kind of getting that next tier of receivers in the second round. Some good players there potentially, though. Kingsley Suamatai, I butchered that, I know. Offensive tackle BYU, so get your offensive tackle help there in the second round. Max Melton, cornerback, we've had him mentioned a few times. Braden Fisk, defensive line. Cole Bishop, safety. Peyton Wilson, love that linebacker pick there out of NC State. Theo Johnson, the tight end we've talked about. Isaac Agurendo, running back out of Louisville. I know Brett Coleman was really high on him and has talked about him a bit. So that's a nice pick there. Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver out of Rice. Mohamed Kamara, edge out of Colorado State. Javian Cohen, offensive guard, Miami, Florida. Nehemiah Pritchett, cornerback, Auburn. And Garrett Greenfield, offensive tackle, or is it defensive? Offensive tackle, South Dakota State. I like this mock a lot. I really do. I like what you did there. Going, zigging when other people are zagging, right? Not going receiver earlier, but getting Turner and Newton and then still getting a receiver in Mitchell. Yeah, I like what you did a lot. I think overall, just the overall body of work on this draft is really nice. It's a good approach, I think. Thunder saying, I think we're trading down from 4, then some of that capital will be used to move up from 27 if they have someone they really like and want. I could see that. That's what I did in my mock draft, right? Agent 47, appreciate you being here. How you doing, Professor? Long time don't be here. Good to be back here. Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you for hanging out with us. Appreciate that. So yeah, Dana, I like what you did here. It might be for some people, not getting one of the top 3 receivers. They might not like it, but I think there's something to be said if you want to build the overall roster defensively and offensive line, and go with McBride and a tight end heavy offense, and kind of go with depth at receiver with Michael Wilson, and then bring in Mitchell. Yeah, I like it. Next up, Canucks 33-22. We have Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4. Jared Verse falling to 27. That would be a dream. I don't see that happening. If it happens, it feels like it's because something comes out, like medicals or something. But boy, if that happened, that would be amazing. Then double dipping with edge. Darius Robinson really kind of hitting that edge spot there. Edgerrin Cooper at linebacker, so getting some help at linebacker, right? Am I right? Right, Tina's like, wow, right? Patrick Paul, offensive tackle out of Houston, so getting an offensive tackle a little later. Braden Fisk's come up on a couple of draft picks, right? Getting some more defensive line help there. Cornerback Kyrie Jackson of Oregon, Christian Mahogany, offensive guard out of Boston College, Javon Baker, wide receiver UCF, Muhammad Kamara, edge, Colorado State, running back Jawar Jordan out of Louisville, and Andrew Phillips, cornerback at Kentucky. Interesting draft. Fitz switched to a 4-3 defense after this, right? Listen, getting Jared Verse at 27 is a huge win, and then getting some edge up. So really went offensive line and defensive heavy there early, and then maybe a receiver, running back a little bit later. So obviously with Marvin Harrison Jr. there as well. So I think it's a really interesting approach. I don't know. Maybe I want to see a cornerback earlier, maybe not. I don't know. The double dipping on edge is interesting. I think if you're getting Verse, I might rather get help at a different position there. I don't know though. It's not bad though. Listen, there's a lot of nice players in here. So yeah. Drew McWhorter saying Robinson, Verse are also both versatile enough to rush from the inside. They would be a fun combo. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So, okay. Next up, we got AZ Sports Fan 20. I believe you're in the house, aren't you? Is that you, Drew, or am I getting my wires crossed? Please let me know if I sometimes that happens as we get old. All right. So we have AZ Sports Fan 20, who's Desert Sports on Twitter. And we got Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4, of course. Then we have a trade to move back up to get Amarius Mims, right? So move back up to get the guy that you want there, right? Then Darius Robinson at edge at pick 35, right? So we see him against Shrimp. Brandon Dorless at defensive interior line. Yep. Okay. I was right. Sometimes this old brain works. Okay. So we got Brandon Dorless, defensive interior line in round 3. Jarvis Brownlee, junior cornerback, round 3. Braylon Allen, running back. We've had him a few times. Cooper Beebe. He's going to be a popular pick on mock drafts, especially if he keeps falling that late. Steel Chambers. What a great name. Linebacker in the 6th round, where they like to take linebackers, right? Then center Dylan McMahon out of NC State. Then Jaden Crumley, defensive interior out of Jaden Crumley out of Mississippi State. Yeah, so I like what you did with those first 2 round picks, going up to get the guy you want in Mims, and obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. Robinson's a nice player. I'm a fan, like I said, of getting defensive line help. Right, you got a guy a little earlier, Brendan Dorless, and then a guy later. I like that, getting into your offensive line later. Yeah, I think this is a nice mock. I like it a lot. Next up, Mono 187. I don't know if he's in here or not. I'm not sure if I've seen you in the chat, but if you're here, say hey and pop in. Marvin Harrison Jr., of course, at 4. We love that. Then we got to trade up to get Dallas Turner. I really like that, right? That's similar to what I did, except I got Jared Verse, right? But similar kind of idea as far as what I did, except I didn't do the trade back, or I did a trade back, which you didn't do with number 4. But moving up to get one of the better edges, love that. Then Amarius Mims at 20. Man, this is an aggressive draft. I'm here for this. Like, you moved around a couple times to get to 18 and 20, and get a couple guys you really like. So I love it. Cornerback Jerry Jones in the 3rd round. We got Audric Estim, probably butchering that, halfback out of Notre Dame. Hunter Nurzad, center out of Penn State. Tip Ryman, tight end out of Illinois. And Evan Anderson, defensive chair out of Florida Atlantic. Yeah, I love what you did in that 1st round. Just really aggressive, getting a really good offensive tackle, good edge, Marvin Harrison Jr. There's some, because I love building a deep roster, and I love day 2 and 3 picks, but there's something to be said for what you did. They're just really aggressively, like, just grabbing 3 blue chip players, or players you hope will be blue chip. Amarius Mims certainly has the athleticism. So yeah, that's the one thing with you, that though, right? You give up a lot of picks where there's value. Pick 20 to 66. So that's the tough part of that, right? But I think that's an interesting draft. It's certainly interesting to look at and see what it looks like that. So we have Rainey, who's got Marvin Harrison Jr. We love that, right? Anytime you see MHJ on there, you love that. Byron Murphy II, we've seen him a number of times, so like that. Sua Matia, I'm sure I'm butchering that, offensive tackle, BYU, getting maybe your right tackle there, like that. Austin Booker, edge out of Kansas, so getting some edge help. Jarvis Brownlee, cornerback out of Louisville. Blake Corum, running back out of Michigan. I've taken him on a number of drafts. I like that pick a lot. Renata Green, quarterback, Florida State. Christian Mahogany, guard out of Boston College. He's been on a number of drafts. Muhammad Kamara, he's been on a couple. Edge out of Colorado State. Maris Liafau, I'm sure I butchered that, linebacker of Notre Dame. They like taking linebackers late there. And then Mark Perry, safety out of TCU. So like that. So let's see. Dana's saying she thinks it's too early for Brownlee, the cornerback. Okay. This draft is heavy on offensive side. That's not crazy to see some top defenders fall to 20. Okay. That's an interesting point as well. Yeah. Okay. So Aston KK, love the Estim pick always. Okay, nice. So yeah, I like what you did here, Rainey. I think there's some really nice picks here, especially getting Byron Murphy and Harrison, some really good help on the defensive line and offensive lines here. Yeah, I like it. We got through them all, and it's only an hour and 13 minutes. These streams used to go kind of like 2 hours, so maybe we'll manage to keep them down. Although we'll see if we get more mock drafts, if they go that if we get through that quick. So, all right, well, Mock Draft Monday is back, right? And hey, I've got a Kyler Murray jersey. It's the old jerseys. Story about this: I found this jersey at, I think it was Ross in Albany, Georgia, half price. But there was one jersey in my size, and it just happened to be a Kyler Murray jersey. So that was fortuitous. So I definitely bought that, right? Do you think Murphy will fall at 27? Austin, hey, good to see you in here. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of mock drafts where he's going earlier than that, right? So I have a feeling he won't. I mean, usually you expect to see, like, interior defensive line, you see a lot of those guys go later in the first round, and you see then on day 2 a lot of them, but usually there's 1 or 2 of the top ones that go earlier than you would have thought, right? Jordan Davis went pretty early, and I think he'll be gone at 27, and I think he and Jerzon Newton both could be gone by 27. If not, then it'd be nice to see the Cardinals get one of those guys there. So yeah, I don't think Murphy will fall to 27 in my opinion, right? You need a Marvin Harrison Jr. jersey now, right? Right. Yeah. And do you do your mocks with a scheme in mind? Good question. When I do my mocks for the live stream, I do multiples. Today I only did like 4 or 5 of them, but it's not uncommon for me to do 10 or 15 different mocks and try different things, different looks, and then pick one that kind of, that I like, that tells a story, if that makes sense. Like, when the one I pick is usually to make a point, with something in mind. But I will try different mock drafts that do different things, try different positions, waiting on different positions, see what happens if I go this position early versus that position. So I do have a strategy in mind when I do them, but I accumulate a handful of them and then decide which one I want to do. But I do generally do them to either highlight a player or to demonstrate something. Like, for example, the one that I actually did today, I'll bring mine back up from earlier in the show. Here we go. The one that I did here, I specifically, when I did this one, I really wanted to show what a draft looks like, trading back out of 4 to get some draft capital, and then using some of that draft capital to move back up and get a good edge rusher. Right. So that was sort of a strategy in mind for this one that I did. So yeah, good question. All right. Yeah, if Noon falls to 27 should be an auto pick, I think so too. Brandon Ropes saying, nice mock salt. Excited to see how free agency changes and needs us. I agree, right? I'm excited about free agency. I think they're going to be more active than they were last year, but I don't think they're going to be as active as some people or I don't think they're going to go after a lot of really, really high dollar players, but I think they'll spend, I think they're going to try to get a starting caliber cornerback. I think we could see some starters on defensive line and maybe even edge. So I think we'll see that. Maybe seeing some offensive lineups. I think they're going to do something. But all right, everyone, thanks for being here. It's good to be back for Mock Draft Monday. We're going to do this. I think there's 8 weeks of Mock Draft Monday, if I'm not mistaken, looking at the calendar. So we'll be doing this every week. And, so obviously get your mock drafts in the Discord server. Join the Discord server. If you haven't, get them to me on Twitter. But we're going to get out of here. I'm going to put up my channel member shout outs. We're going to do the song on our way out, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace. 1, 2, 3, 4.